Natalie Portman mentions the all-male director nominees at the Golden Globe Awards. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and last night was the Golden Globe Awards, or as most people probably think of them as, the kind of sort of Oscars and Emmys that nobody really cares about or watches. Which sounds like I am implying that people watch the Oscars and the Emmys, but let's not go down that tragic road. Now, I didn't watch the awards show, and let's be honest, why should I? I don't watch any television besides Game of Thrones after giving up on Walking Dead 3 episodes into the Negan season, and the only 2 films I can remember seeing this past year that would have maybe been up for awards were Dunkirk, which was amazing, and Wonder Woman, which was meh. Regardless, none of that stopped me from hearing about the Golden Globes a bit from my apparently terminally bored and almost unanimously leftist Facebook friends who plastered my timeline last night with bits and pieces about how excited they were that Oprah Winfrey was so good at giving speeches and how she was going to run for president in 2020 and kick that icky orange man out of office. But maybe even more so, the other thing that really stood out to them was when the legendary and brilliant female writer and director, Natalie Portman, when former sexy it girl of the moment for 2 moments, Natalie Portman, mentioned on stage that the nominees for Best Director were all male. Oh boy, was this a powerful statement, coming from a not-so-young-anymore woman who definitely didn't get to wherever she is by having sex with anybody she might not have really wanted to, or allowing them to masturbate in front of her. No, Natalie Portman is woke, of course, and she clearly understands that the misogyny in the entertainment system and film world is super rife, which is what accounts for the fact that there are far less females making movies than men, even in the current year. You see, despite the fact that young women have outweighed young men on university campuses for numerous decades, and despite the fact that a quick Google search will bring up numerous listings for grants offered exclusively to female filmmakers just for the fact that they're female, women are still getting shafted in Hollywood, no pun intended. So maybe now that basically every male in the entertainment industry has been accused of some sort of sexual misconduct, perhaps each and every one of those men can be replaced by a woman to show those men just how many fish don't need bicycles. And we can get some awesome female films made finally, and women can win all those awards for once. Or maybe, realistically, perhaps, just perhaps, when the female diversity hires take over every bit of the entertainment industry establishment that hasn't already been conquered by social justice pod people, maybe when that happens, they'll end up running it into the ground the way they did to Marvel Comics and everything else that they've touched. Okay. All cattiness aside, I do actually have a bit of a sympathetic bone in my cynical body for women working in the entertainment industry, mainly because of the fact that I'm a gay guy that has worked in both theater and music extensively, and have also done a little bit of soundtrack work for film and whatever you'd call YouTube. In entertainment mediums like music and film, minorities in the business are often treated as if they are novelties and are assumed to have been basically diversity hires or tokens. YouTube personalities get accused of being tokens all the time, of course. I actually had that accusation hurled at me a week or so ago on Twitter for the first time ever on YouTube, which is funny because I've had people who were subscribed to me for months tell me that they didn't know I was gay until a certain specific video because I talk about so many things that have nothing to do with my sexuality. Regardless, I can assure you that for reasons that I could make an entire video about, gay men are often assumed to be crappy at anything that we might ever do, which would put the gay men in a situation where they would be competing with straight men, which is likely the reason why so many gay men end up enjoying things like musical theater and figure skating, because they never have to compete with straight guys. I have ran into this mentality, especially in music, when straight guys assumed that I wouldn't be a legitimately good vinyl DJ or electronic music producer. Though, in fairness to them, once they realized that I was good, they tended to respect me. And in fairness to myself, I used their hypercritical eyes to improve my craft. Still, what female directors need to keep in mind, or females who might want to be directors, from one minority in entertainment to another. Sure, it might be different to be a woman in the industry than it is to be a gay man in the industry, and I certainly don't think that either of us should try to quantify who has it worse. However, for both of us, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is whether or not we actually made good work. Do straight guys sit around complaining that people weren't supportive enough of them when they tried to make their films? Well, I'm sure some of them do, and those are probably not the ones who persevered and ended up making great films eventually. Honestly, no matter who you are, nobody gives a crap how hard it was for you to make a film. And more so, I don't think there's almost anybody alive who had a completely easy time directing a film, including somebody like Sofia Coppola, who will always live in her father's shadow. Making a film will always be difficult, and making a good film will always be infinitely more difficult than making a crappy film. So sitting around complaining about how people of your gender, skin color, or sexual preference aren't making enough films that are being nominated isn't really helping anything, especially not you. What would help would be if you were to make something, but that's incredibly hard. Still, I encourage you to do it. If you're a teenaged girl that is into movies, you should learn to be obsessed with movies. Be obsessed with films. I encourage you to work incredibly hard and to watch every film you possibly can until the end of high school. If you have a film studies class as an elective offered at your high school, take it. And don't be ashamed to actually get into it and try to become friends with your teacher, because even if you have different tastes, you'll undoubtedly learn something. You'll find at least one or two movies from your teacher that are awesome, and you're really glad that they showed you, because you would have never known about them if it wasn't for your weird film studies teacher. That happened to me in high school, personally, because I was really into film. If you want to go to film school, really learn about which one is good for you, because there's a lot of options. And once you get there, I advise you to spend the extra energy really studying script writing, because a lot of people think that you should just go to film school and go to do the film school thing. No, take separate script writing class, because what really makes a good film is a good script, and the best films tend to be directed by the same person who wrote the script. So yeah, focus on both writing and directing very specifically. Keep at it, work hard, try to make a few student films so that you have something to show people, but remember the following, and remember it very well. Think long and hard before you accept any sort of grant based around being a woman in order to get a film made. The best way to avoid being tokenized as a female director who people only care about because she has a vagina is probably to avoid tokenizing yourself. So yes, if you get your movie made because of your uterus, men will take you less seriously. So if you want to be taken seriously, keep that in mind. I mean, I did call myself Prince of Queens, which is probably where the token accusation from the one person came from, you know? I mean, I can assume that they're not actually familiar with my channel, but yeah, I did call myself Prince of Queens. I did kind of tokenize myself in that way. So if you're a woman in the entertainment industry and you want to work in film, will you have to go the extra mile to get men to take you seriously? I don't know, maybe. But trust me, it's not easy being one of the many dudes trying to make a name for himself as a film director either. Still, if you're either a dude or a chick, you can do it. I believe in you. That's all I have to say for this video. Stay tuned.